Hello everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Road Talk with Cade. Today in my life is May 9th, 2026, and for the next week, I will be living and driving and sleeping and pretty much everything besides shitting and showering inside this white van you see behind me. We are on the gates of Yellowstone, where I'll be camping Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons, and just hanging out, disassociating from life, and just enjoying the great outdoors. So, let's ride along.
As you can see from the opening clip, I tried to document this trip in the moment, which did not exactly work out how I wanted it to. For starters, the video was just simply way too long. When I decided that, the original video I was making was already over 45 minutes, with 2 full days of documentation not even being touched yet. So instead of all that slop, I'm going to do a short recap here, and then in the back half of the video, do some highlights from those audio recordings. This trip flew me out west to Bozeman, Montana, where I would then camp Yellowstone and the Grand Tetons for a week while living in a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter van, allowing me to step out of my everyday life for a week, disassociating from reality while enjoying some time in the great outdoors. To hit on some highlights from the trip, number 1 was simply camping. The evening sitting around the fire, cooking dinner, then watching the sunset turn into the clearest night sky I had ever seen. Then waking up in the morning, putting a pot of coffee in the stove, and making myself a light breakfast. Those couple nights where I accomplished everything that I was hoping to get out of this trip. My favorite attraction that I saw on the trip was the Grand Prismatic. The geyser was truly remarkable. The steam rising from it carried the red and blue colors of whatever minerals are inside the geyser, which was something I had never seen before and found to be truly fascinating. I was also able to buzz over to Victor, Idaho, which allowed me to check off Wyoming as my 34th state visited, and Idaho being my 35th. When you are only 20 miles from the state border, you gotta take that extra time to get across that state line, as you don't know if your future will allow you to get back out there. So it was a fun journey up and down a 10% grade to say I've been to Idaho. On the other end of the spectrum, there were a few lowlights from the trip. Number 1 being grizzly bears. Now I've had many experiences with black bears hiking in and around Asheville. However, grizzly bears add a whole new level of fear and paranoia because they will kill you. Being in a remote part of the country, where at times I didn't have cell service for multiple days at a time, made it hard to wander too far off into the woods by myself. I did get to see 5 grizzly bears from the comfort of the van, but those beautiful creatures caused me a lot of paranoia during the trip. That also most likely was probably because there was a fatal grizzly bear attack that happened like 3 or 4 days before I got there, so a part of the park was closed because of that. There was a rather instantaneous issue with the grizzly bears that also added a little bit more stress on that back of my head that wasn't actually real. The other low light came from the isolation that I found myself in. The first 3 days of the trip were great, separating myself from work, social media, and a lot of other worldly things in my life that I don't find to be healthy for my brain. Then on day 4 I was starting to have small anxiety attacks and increased paranoia because things were happening at work. I wasn't able to control them because I didn't know what was going on for hours or days at a time. Interesting enough, I only had those issues during the middle of the day, usually around lunchtime or the early afternoons during the back half of the trip. To bring it full circle though, back to the camping I did, those mornings and nights in the campground were my favorite parts of the trip. So on this trip I learned that I'm not a fan of being separated from my work for days at a time, at least not when I can't see what's going on. I also just think after the 72-hour mark, I got that detox from the social world around me I was looking for. So at that point my body and mind were ready to get back into things, causing a deteriorating ability to relax during a time of day where I normally would be working. Now for the rest of the video, I'm going to play a highlight reel from the moments of filming in person on the trip. This was the first time I've ever tried to make a video like this, which I learned a lot from that experience as well, so I hope you enjoy me being a goof.
Alrighty, let's do a little van tour here. So this is my Mercedes-Benz for the week. We got a nice new black bumper and 1 new black side panel because the last person that had it before me hit something with it. So we got an already damaged vehicle, so I don't got to worry about beating her up too much. That's my couch that'll slide down into a 76-inch long bed. That'll give me no room for comfort at all, but I'll be able to sleep on it, and that's all I can really ask for. And we got the driver's side up here. Both these chairs spin around if I want them to spin around. Not that important to me right now. I plan to sit outside. It's beautiful out. And then I got my nice little chapstick stick in there. I need a new one of those ASAP because it is so dry in here. And if we swing around, here's the back of the van. We got cabinets up top, cupboard on the side to store my food, utensils, everything I need for cooking, sink, 2 propane heaters to cook on, even though I'm going to cook everything over the fire, and a little mini fridge. Zoom up, get in there. That'll keep you satisfied, sustained for a week, I think. And yeah, it's pretty much the van. Good morning, everybody. Happy Mother's Day. To recap my first day out on the road, when I got to the airport yesterday, I needed a ride, and my options were Uber, taxi, or hitchhike the 2 miles I needed to go to get to the rental van here. And didn't want to wait the 20 minutes for the Uber. Walked over to where it said taxis are. There's no taxis, but there's this guy named Nathan sitting on the front of his truck, waiting for his buddy Brad Winkle. And the crazy thing about that is Brad is from Chilton. So he grew up 20 minutes from me, and he's 2 years older than I am. So it kind of just goes to show you how small of a world is. But those two guys let me hitchhike over to the van rental place. Bob at the van rental place gave me a quick rundown, and then I hit the road. And then about an hour after that, and grocery shopping and stuff. You guys got to see the intro to the show. But I'm sitting here waiting for my coffee in the pot. So far this trip, I've had 0 cell service since entering the park. And even now, I have no cell service on my personal phone or work phone. And it's exactly what I wanted. Sit outside around the campfire, watch the stars, make a new friend like I did last night at the campsite next to me, and just sit there and enjoy it. It's really hard to find that nowadays. Very peaceful, and it's exactly what I'm looking for. It's just get off the phone for a week and just disassociate back into the world and the beauty that's around me. So let's hit the road. It's going to be a good day. So once you get to Norris is a geyser. In that parking lot, if you guys are ever here, they have one of the worst smelling bathrooms, pit toilets. I guess pit toilet's the right term, yeah, that's correct. I'm telling you, this has got to be one of the worst smelling toilets on planet Earth. Before I even got through the door, so I literally opened it and it hit me, and I was immediately gagging. So I went t-shirt up, sweatshirt up, and mouth breathing, and I could still taste it. That's how bad it was. Let's just say that was an abrupt thing to enter lunch on. But so far, when it comes to solo hiking out here, I'm too scared of bears to go into the thick woods by myself because I'm scared I'm going to die or get eaten, or even worse, get attacked and then not die and then lay out there for days or hours or however long it would be. And unfortunately, I haven't worked up the balls to get in the woods yet. But I'm hoping tomorrow, if I'm feeling a little bit better and the weather's nice, I can venture out a little bit onto an actual trail. That's a goal tomorrow, is to hike at least 1 mile out and 1 mile back, so two miles on an actual trail. So we're working our way into it, but it's been a little rough so far. Little anxiety holding me back. Let's just say that. Second thing on the list was to find a shower, which I did find, and it's quarters only, and I had $1 cash, which was not enough to even start the shower. So that was, I'm not very good at planning things, am I? Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say on that. Is I came on a 7-day trip in bumfuck nowhere with no cell service, and I brought $6 cash with me, and I gave $5 to the guys that hitchhiked me to the van, and I had $1 left, and now it's Mother's Day today, and I didn't have any fucking cash. I had to pay for cash to get to my campsite. I had to pay for cash to take a shower. Like, what was I thinking? Like, why didn't I have any cash? I don't know. Sometimes, man. I just look myself in the mirror and I'm like, why? I spent some time. I walked like a mile around the campground, just kind of going up and down the roads, walked along the river for a little bit, and kind of just got comfortable in my surroundings. And I think that, and now sitting here by the fire and listening to the birds chirp behind us, really made me realize that I was just very much overwhelmed today by not only my surroundings, but the way I was feeling physically and mentally. Well, the way I was feeling physically was putting strain on me mentally, and then my surroundings and my fear of bears kind of put that all together, and just very much overstimulated today. That walk around the campground just really helped me settle into my surroundings. And I think tomorrow and every day after that, I got to walk around the campgrounds and walk somewhere more comfortable, more welcoming than a trail in the woods in Yellowstone to start. And then I can work my way up to that, hopefully by the end of the trip. So even though today was overwhelming and it was a lot, we got something out of it. So I'm going to have a good night. I'm going to sit by the fire. I'm going to listen to the birds chirp. And I'm going to watch the stars roll in. So have a good night. See you at breakfast. Good morning, everybody. As you can hear, I'm super stuffed up, and I believe it's due to the tree pollen. It is earlier spring out here. So based on my life in North Carolina and traveling for work down there with a lot of pine trees, I have really bad pine tree allergies that I've been learning. And I think it's the same thing here, and that's just got me super stuffed up. Last night, I had a good night around the campfire, watched it smolder out, and then, you can't get a better view of the sky than out here. It's so crystal clear. And just yesterday evening, between walking around the campground and sitting around by the fire, that's what I came here to do, is relax, to chill out. My life moves at an extremely fast pace all the time, and that's why I'm out here, is to slow down, take in the beautiful scenery, and just chill out for a week. So I think last night, getting the camper resituated and then just hanging out by the fire and walking around the campground really helped me settle in to my surroundings and just get comfortable and realize that there's no phone, there's no social media. We're just out here to hang out for a week and disassociate from life. Today, I'm going to pull out this right here. This is the only map I had for the first 2 days. So now I have the actual park map, because for the first time I was able to stop at a visitor center while it was open, or I guess I just had to check into the park and show them my pass. But yeah, for the first 2 days, this was literally the only map I was using, and I have no cell service. So if you look on there, I started up there in this is backwards to me, but I started in Mammoth Hot Springs yesterday morning. I drove down to West Yellowstone, or the west entrance down there. And then today we're going from the west entrance down to the south entrance, and I'm camping at Coulter Bay tonight. So the big thing on the agenda for today is Old Faithful. I'm off the hiking trail just north of the Grand Prismatic. It's unbelievably blue. Unfortunately, for me, the way the wind's blowing today, it made it almost impossible to get a good look at it, because the steam's just blowing into your face and it smells like sulfur and it's kind of gross. However, it still is one of the most beautiful things I think I've ever seen. Yesterday, while we were by the geysers, everything looked white. Everything looked like ash and burnt and like the end of the world. Where this still had that white to it, but the color that came out of it as well was just pristine beauty. Unbelievable. Turquoise blue, and then the rust red accent. And it's the only time in my life where I've seen steam that comes out the same color as what the water is. So I'm assuming that's whatever's in the rocks and minerals and stuff. Good morning. It is May 12th from the Grand Tetons National Park, and I'm at the tip of the peninsula at Coulter Bay, and as you can see behind me we have, to the farthest left in your view is going to be Grand Teton, the actual mountain itself that the range is named after, and then the other biggest one farther to the right is going to be Mount Moran, who was an artist of Western landscapes, and they named that mountain after him, so good for him. It's a pretty cool thing to have named after you as a mountain. I have a lot to recap from yesterday because it just didn't go as planned. Driving into the park, I had that extra hour and 20 minutes of traffic because of a bison herd, and that really just pushed everything back behind schedule. But I believe where we last left off was when I was coming into Old Faithful. I probably had the most efficient Old Faithful visit of all time. I got there, walked over to the convenience store, not the lodge, but the souvenir shop, bought myself a fridge magnet, then walked over about 300 yards to the Old Faithful, and about 100 yards away it started erupting. So I feel like most people go there and they have to wait the full 90 minutes because they just missed it, where I was literally walking up there and it just started at perfect timing. Then moving on past that, I went over to the lodge, and my dad said I was really going to like the lodge. It's just a big old wooden structure. It's built in a very unique way with a lot of very unique wood architecture inside. And it reminds me a lot of the Grove Park Inn. The Grove Park Inn is built mainly stone. Same concept. It very much takes the surrounding world that it is in and just kind of puts it all together and makes it super beautiful. Did all of that in about 30 minutes. So about as efficient as you can possibly get. And the first Continental Divide sign I completely missed. There was no warning of it. There was no information or anything. You kind of just drive and all of a sudden, hey, there's a sign and a little pullout, and I was too far gone before I got to stop and take a photo there. But I was able to catch the second one, and I got a couple photos there standing at 8,391 feet, where the water either goes east to the Mississippi and then out through the Gulf, or west out to the Pacific. And anytime you're in a continental divide, it's a pretty cool spot to be in. But then you enter the Grand Teton National Park, and this park was the main reason I wanted to come out here this year, as you can see behind me. These mountains, there's something about them that's just, they're magical. How steep and how jagged and how aggressive they are. It really just is fascinating. And they have that nice beautiful snowpack and the morning sun shining on them, and they truly just are beautiful. They're just magnificent mountains. As I was coming into the park, the first pullout over the lake that's behind me, you just come into clear view of the mountains for the first time. Jaw-dropping experience. Unbelievable how sharp and how beautiful these mountains are compared to everything I've just saw for the last 250 miles of driving. It's just completely different than 100 miles north of here. For the second time on this trip, I had burgers topped with jalapeno habanero Colby Jack cheese, spinach, and mayo on wheat bread. Not the most original burger by any means, but as somebody who doesn't cook for themselves a lot and doesn't do a lot of grocery shopping in general, I kind of just threw things in a cart that I know I'd like to eat, and that's what dinner ended up being last night. So it fed me. It tasted pretty good, and I was actually genuinely surprised with how well spinach works on a burger. And now this morning I'm out. I'm going to do a 2-mile hike. I'm already over a mile in, so I'm basically going to do my return trip. And I just wanted to share with you the nice background I have and how beautiful this place is. And I'll keep you updated as the day goes on, but today we're going to be heading south through Grand Teton National Park and then camping somewhere around Jackson. This is the only night of the trip where I don't have a planned camping destination, so we're going to figure that out as we go. It is around noon in Grand Teton National Park. I don't know what kind of bug that is, but I'm here at the Teton Glacier Turnout. If you look behind me, in between the two peaks, there's the Grand Teton Glacier. And I believe this is only the second time in my life where there's a permanent year-round glacier that's formed inside the mountains. And the other time would have been Glacier National Park a couple years ago. I don't know if you guys can see the bird in camera too, but he's been picking away at some sunflower seeds. The first thing I did is stop at the convenience store on the corner at the edge of the campground that was closed yesterday. I walked in there, I got myself a Claritin, 24 hours, non-drowsy. It's not really working. I took it 2 hours ago. I'm still stuffy, and I actually learned from the guy at the counter that it's most likely sage that I'm allergic to, so the sage is blooming across all the prairie or lowlands, and the sage is most likely what's making me sick and congested and stuff, not the tree pollen. In one of the books I'm reading right now, it talks about 1,000 feet of elevation gain is similar to going 170 miles north at sea level. So just in temperature and weather-wise change, 1,000 feet up is the same as 170 miles north, which, I mean, that's a long ways when you think about it. Like, that's probably the distance from Chicago to Green Bay, roughly, I would think. And so up there at the top of Grand Teton, it is 13,775 feet, which means even in the warmest days of summer in July and August, you can still get Arctic-like conditions up there, which is pretty remarkable considering I'm sitting down here and I'm actually a little bit sweaty in this sweatshirt here, and it's like 67 degrees. Up there, it's probably close to 0 right now. Hello. Welcome back to another day's recap of Road Talk with Cade. I last left you at the lunch point, where if you can see, I got a nice sunburn for the 10 minutes I was sitting out in the sun. But we are currently at my campsite number 69 at, I can't remember the name of the campground to save my life, so that's why we have this little book here. It is a Gros Ventre campground. It is part of the Grand Teton National Forest. As you can see my backdrop behind me where the sun's going to set in a minute here. You can see the peak of Grand Teton itself, and then farther to my left, your right, is going to be Mount Moran that we talked about this morning, or yesterday, I'm not really sure. It's all kind of blending together at this point. But I'm going to recap you up from where I left you at lunch, and then where I'm going to get to the rest of my day. And so Mormon's Row, to me, is one of the most important places to visit in the United States. It is a group of barns and farmsteads that overlook the Grand Tetons. It's one of the most American symbols, I believe, left, like standing in this country. It's something like the Empire State Building in New York or the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. These farms and these barns on Mormon's Row, they're the gap between those two places, where these people got into wooden wagons with wooden wheels on them, traversed across this country like wild animals. Unbelievably insane idea to even, like, I could see like getting in the wagon and getting to Denver, but when you arrive in Denver and then you look up and you're like, I'm good, I'm gonna stay here. But they came all the way through, and they did that all the way north and south of the country. These barns symbolize what those people went through and what it means to be an American, and that's why they still stand today and they're so important to me. I didn't have a plan for where I was gonna camp tonight, so I kind of had to figure that out on the fly. Took the gravel road, Mormon Row, about 1.5 miles south, back on an asphalt road, and this was campground came into view within minutes of me being back on the asphalt. And I was like, well, I'll look it up online, see if they have any open spots. And most of the campground was open, so I was like, all right, I'll just pay for one. I'll pay for the first one that's available, and then when I get here, I'll ask the guy if I can move around and find a good spot for sunset. And I believe campsite 69, I'm the farthest north campsite on the campground, and I think I have the best view in the entire campground. A lot of the view from the other side, you can see that smaller mountain behind me. A lot of the view to the south of me in the campground is blocked by that, and you can only see the peaks of the mountains. Or if you get to the very southern side, it's much more forested down there. But so, I'm on the edge of the plane of existence when it comes to this campground, and I think I had the best view in town. Just continued moving right away. I wanted to get to Victor, Idaho. I've never been to the state of Idaho before. So when you're that close, it's 23 miles. You have to just make the run and check it off, because you never know when you're going to get a chance to get back. So on this trip, I've checked off state 34 in Wyoming when I drove into Wyoming at Yellowstone. And then I've checked off state 35 in Idaho as well. I do have a lot of things I want to see in Idaho, so I hope to make it back. Not rather soon, but eventually in my life, I'd like to see the Boise State Field. And there's a couple other things in Idaho besides just the city of Boise itself that I'd like to see. So I hope to find myself back there at some point. But Victor was nice. Stopped, put $100 of diesel in the bad boy right here. Stopped at the Grand Tetons Brewery right next to the gas station. Just kind of sit down, relax a minute, drink a beer while I was in Idaho, checking things off the list. I ventured back over the Teton Gap, which on about the upper stretch of 2 miles on either side, so the 4 mile stretch, it's a 10% grade up and down the hill. or mountain we should call it. Definitely a mountain when it's a 10% grade. I've never driven a vehicle this big before. In a 10% grade, when you're doing 45 miles per hour, it's nothing like driving a semi, but I mean, you're a little sketched out when you're doing 45 in this thing and you got it in manual and you're hitting lower gears because the guy told you at the campground, he's like, if you're ever going downhill past the 5% grade, put it in manual and downshift a little bit. But we made it up and we made it back over and there was no issues. It wasn't that bad. It was more just when you're on a 10% grade, you're like, holy shit, this is steep kind of thing. And then did some shopping in Jackson. I needed some cosmetics. I needed some aloe vera for my face to cover up this horrible 3-day sunburn that's just been day over day over day just growing worse. I needed some lotion as well, just for my skin because it's so dry out here. My body is shriveling inside of itself, even though I'm drinking about 2 gallons of water per day. And then I got more allergy medication, even though it's not, I mean, I'm still stuffy, but like, it's a lot better than it was, but I'm still not. One Claritin did not fix me, so I got more allergy medicine as well. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, I bought these 2 t-shirts, and then I rolled back to the campground. Currently, I'm at the Wapiti campground in the Shoshone National Forest, east of Yellowstone National Park. And today was mostly just me covering a lot of miles as I backtracked from my southern point of the trip in Jackson, Wyoming, all the way east. I drove all the way today to Cody, Wyoming, through both Grand Tetons National Park and Yellowstone National Park, hitting my eastern point of the trip in Cody. Then we came to the West Thumb Connector, where originally I came from the west and headed south. Now I came from the south to head east. That rode us along the coast of Lake Yellowstone, where I was met with a lot of on and off rain, which was pretty unfortunate because it makes it hard to get out and enjoy the views, especially when you can see across the lake to the snowy mountains on the other side. When every single time you stop, it seems to start raining again, and the weather was just pushing in off the lake, which made it a rather unfortunate part of the trip. As for myself, the store brand non-drowsy allergy relief medicine that I'm taking really is not doing the job. I mean, I'm still stuffy and I'm not feeling the best. The non-drowsy part really just did not take it all. I pretty much struggled through all the mileage today, like keeping my head up and staying focused and driving. I was just so tired. I'm still so tired. Like, I'm probably going to be going to bed here in a little bit, and it's only like 8:30ish right now. I did, however, get to see a grizzly on the trip, but because of the rather annoying amount of pull-offs there was from people in front of me and behind me, the traffic just didn't make it worth for me to stop myself. That is the second grizzly bear I've seen on the trip. The first one just ran through the campground as a small juvenile. And I did make a note that both of them were a lot smaller than I was expecting them to be. I don't know if the one today was just a deceiving thing because of how far away it was on the hill. So when I see all the videos from bears in Alaska and stuff, I have to take into account those bears are a lot bigger up there. A little while after I saw the bear, I was continuing my drive, and everything seemed to not be lining up with where I thought I was driving. And then I realized I missed my turn. When I got to a turn off for the Grand Canyon of the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, and I was like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be today. And that's when I realized I made a wrong turn. And unfortunately, I had to backtrack about an extra 20 miles. It takes about 40 to 45 minutes. So that was just more added driving to a already long day of driving because I screwed up and missed my turn. But that also allowed me to come back through and see the bear one more time. And the traffic jam was just as bad at that point again. One note I did make while I was getting my milkshake is the reason I've been so red the last couple days and my face has been burning up and I've been so hot and sweaty is not because I'm sunburnt. I mean, I'm partially sunburnt. That is not the whole reason. But the cheese I've been eating, the sliced cheese for my burgers and my ham sandwiches, is jalapeno habanero Colby Jack cheese, which I did know after I checked out and bought it when I was putting it in the van. I didn't realize that was the reason that every time I eat, or I guess throughout the day, like at lunch and dinner time, I'd feel so flushed and so hot. Because the cheese isn't at all hot to eat. Like, it's really no different than eating Colby Jack cheese with maybe a little bit of pepper on it. but the habanero definitely just makes my face flush and hot. And that was something I realized because I had made a sandwich to eat down my drive, and then for the next hour after that, my face was so flush and hot. But it was cloudy and raining on and off all day, so it's not like I was in the sun. I'm not sunburnt from today. So that led me to that conclusion. So I've been eating, I only have one slice of that cheese left, so I had 11 slices of that cheese before I figured out that's one of my problems. I just felt really dumb about that, but that kind of has to be something you document on a trip like this. Good morning from the ridge entering Yellowstone from the eastern park entrance. As I stated last night, I wanted to talk about the drive-in from Cody, Wyoming to the east entrance and then through to Lake Yellowstone. As you can see around me, I'm covered by a still mostly frozen lake, a lot of snowfall. It's about 46 degrees outside, but the sun's nice and warm. Today is May 14th, 2026. The road back to Bozeman, Montana starts today. It's starting a day early, which kind of makes me feel like I'm a quitter, but this morning I moved my flight up a day because really after I'll be able to get through the park today and I've accomplished everything I wanted to do on this trip, minus the stuff that's closed because some parts of the park don't open until May 22nd, but they originally had an earlier opening date this year because of how the weather was going. Let's get into the drive from Cody, Wyoming up here to Lake Yellowstone. I'm not at Lake Yellowstone yet, but I'm on the way. I'm at the point where the entire earth has changed since where I left this morning. Cody and Camp Wapiti, where I spent the night last night, from the videos and the overlays I show you guys, it's all super, super red rock. It really looks like it came out of a Western film. Like Cody, Wyoming, and then that whole stretch to like Camp Wapiti, and even past that, about 20 miles. It's super red mountains that are more of a sandy soil. It's very light, it's very red, and it's more of a desert, high, dry biome. And then as you climb up the mountains, the world begins to change around you. You go from this red desert-like feeling, climb, and then the trees become thicker, the rocks become grayer, the rivers become more blocked up, protected by beavers, and it becomes more of a wetland the higher you go in elevation. It really just is truly mesmerizing to think that about 150 years ago, people were making a similar trek to this through the mountains in covered wagons and stuff. I think that drive really just portrays how crazy those people were 150 years ago, 180 years ago, however long ago it was. Once in a lifetime drive that I think everybody should make. And with all that being said, I'm going to hit the road again. I got a lot of miles to cover today.
To get you guys started, I last left you on that lake up in Yellowstone National Park. And from that point, I really just kind of cruised through the national park, back all the way up to Bozeman. I mean, I stopped in Glatton. I think that's how you pronounce it, on the north entrance of the park. The only thing I did stop and see throughout the park was two grizzly bear and then the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone. Where at the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, I finally figured out why they call it Yellowstone. Because up until that point, I feel like there's a great lack in Yellowstones, if you know what I'm saying. As I was driving through the national park, I really just had an anxiety attack. I was just at my wit's end, just being alone and isolated with no social media, no internet, when I'm supposed to be working throughout the day, and then I can't check my work phone to make sure everything's good on that front. That provided a lot of stress into my day. And I kind of just snapped and just cruised back to the national park. And then once I got out of the national park, I drove out through the big Roosevelt Arch which was a neat little experience, and that was my entrance back into the modern world. The first thing I did in Gallatin was I stopped, made sure everything was good work-wise, and then I put an order in for work, went and paid $5.25 for a shower because I just felt disgusting and stressed out, and that 10-minute long shower was just phenomenal. Like, I'm telling you, that shower made me feel like a new person and helped me like bring my body to ease for how horrible I was feeling, how stressed I felt all day. So that was a wonderful, wonderful. That's great. Alrighty, I'll fix that later. That's alright. Yeah, that shower really did a lot to help me kind of just relax and settle. And then I finished the 90-minute drive back to Bozeman, where I was still anxious and still stressed out. So I decided to go to Planet Fitness and work out because I have worked out once this week. And doing my 10-minute stretches and yoga at Planet Fitness and then getting a good chest day in, that really set my bearings straight. That physical exercise allowed me to get out the anxiety and stress, which is the reason I go to the gym and the reason I hike so much in the first place, is to deplete my body of energy to help me relax and stay stress-free, or not stress-free, but keep the stress down. After that, I had to find a campground for the night, and then, as I said yesterday, I booked my flight, or moved my flight forward by a day because I kind of did everything I wanted to do already. I found a campsite about 20-25 miles west of Bozeman. $20 National Park Service campground, like I've been staying at pretty much this entire trip for the most part. I rolled out here, had a blow it all up party where I kind of drank all my beer, ate all my food besides what I'm gonna have for breakfast, and kind of burnt all my firewood. Just got rid of everything that was accessible to me and everything that I paid for. That way I got my money's worth. And just really had a nice night sitting up by the fire, relaxing in this nice valley here. And the sun's obviously coming around, you can see that. But yeah, I just sat up by the fire, watched the fire burn and smolder out. It was a cloudy night, so I didn't get to see the stars in the sky like I was hoping to in the last night. But yeah, it was really just sit out here, relax, kind of take it all in. And I was really stressed out during the day, and I noticed that every day. During the day, when I'm normally on my phone or working or things are going on when the sun's up, is when I was the most stressed out and the most anxious and most frustrated throughout the day. But my favorite parts of the trip were camping. Like, the national parks were cool and fun and stuff, but sleeping in this thing, waking up in the morning, making my coffee like I just did now. Usually I'd make my coffee, make breakfast, walk around the campground, relax. And then when you pull into camp at night, you pull up, you park, you kind of get your camp situated, and then you start a fire. Sit outside, enjoy the fire, watch the stars over your head, and just kind of relax and disassociate from life. So, through all the stress and anxiety that my days brought, my favorite parts of the trip were camping in the van and just camping in general. I've never camped by myself before, so that was a big test on this trip that I wanted to experience. Of just being in the van, camping by myself, being in a situation where I'm out in a new place that I've never been to before. And then just camping. Like, I've camped with my family, I've camped with my friends, I've camped in every matter, from tents to RVs. I've really camped in everything now that I've camped in this thing back here. But camping alone was a new experience, and this was a good way to do it the first time, and that was the highlight of the trip. It was a testing one. It was a different trip than I've ever taken before. There were some very trying times, some very low lows, some super high highs. But all in all, it was a great trip, and I'm going to fly home today and get a good night's sleep, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Love you. Bye.